For more on this, we're joined by Ohio Republican Congressman Brad Winstrup, who sits on the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. Congressman, good to have you on this morning. This multi-agency review found around 100 incidents over the last several years of Chinese national gatecrashing at U.S. military bases across the country. How serious of a threat is this, Congressman, and do you believe the trend to be espionage?
I do. I think that this is consistent with what China does. Basically, they are out taking part in warlike efforts across the board. That was a great report, by the way, because it really summed up a lot of information that we do know. We didn't have any comments from the Department of Homeland Security or from the White House, not even assurance that we are taking care of this, but I do applaud the FBI and DOD for at least coming together on this issue and defining the gate crashers. But China is testing. They're testing our systems. They're testing access to our military bases and to our country in general. And they're also testing our reactions to their process. You know, in China, these types of activities would land you arrested and you'd be held without bond and questioned. The question we have now, especially as members of Congress and on the committees that we serve, is what are the roles of our agencies and what are we actually doing about it? With the Department of Homeland Security, the intelligence community, the FBI, and what is the follow-up on the people that are caught? But you are seeing from China cyber attacks, spy balloons that infiltrate our colleges, our national labs. They've taken money from our unemployment programs through fraud. They're buying land, as you mentioned. They suppressed data involving COVID. They're investing in infrastructure around the world at airports and ports, and our supply chain is greatly dependent on China.
And sorry, just running out of time here. I do want to get to what are these potential would-be spies looking for exactly? Because I know some of them show up. They say, hey, I'm looking for the local McDonald's or the Burger King trying to get on base. They say, hey, I have a hotel reservation. I need to get through the gates. What is that working? And what can you realistically find just walking around unaccompanied on a military base with no military credentials?
Well, first, you're finding out what kind of access you can obtain, and you start to understand where buildings are and what the process is along those bases. Look, they've been doing this at our universities, walking into engineering buildings and then acting like they're lost. This has been going on and on. The more information that they tend to gather, let me tell you, the 9/11 attackers, they did some dry runs on this before they actually launched their attack. They knew that they could get box cutters in through security. So you have to be concerned about these types of efforts by anybody and what they're gaining as far as knowledge and access to facilities, and what they can get away with is all information they want to know.
And I know right off the top you had mentioned that we don't have a response yet from the White House. What should the United States response be? And I also understand the Intelligence Committee is thinking about legislation for this, calling for an investigation. My last question for you, how should we be responding to this, sir?
I think we should be responding very vocally and just let China know we know what these efforts are about and that we are a pretty open and free society. So there's a lot you can get away with, but this is not one of the things you can get away with. And people are going to be held and questioned. And we try to understand the whole network of what is taking place and not just say, well, it looks like they're just tourists. That's not what's taking place here in my mind.
Yeah, and I know one statistic that shocked me. The Pentagon had conducted this study where they found that every day across the country there are 10,000 turnarounds at U.S. military bases, and some of them do call and prompt for an investigation. Congressman Brad Winstrup, thanks so much for your time this morning, sir. We'll follow it closely.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.